are and get out of their way. And that worked pretty good for me. So it allowed me a lot of leeway to do some fishing and all. But because of my love of the outdoors, the love of fishing, and my appreciation for all the habitat and the areas that we have here, I became concerned with water quality issues. And I remember being approached by the people START, which is Solutions to Avoid Red Tide, wanted me to be on their board. But that was a time when they were, the idea was to fly tanker planes, and drop clay on the red tide to make it go away. And it's like, somehow that just didn't seem right to me. So it didn't seem like that was going to be woods. So instead of doing that, we ended up doing Sarasota Baywatch. That was after that really bad red tide in 2005 and 6. And try to get more people interested in the health of the bay. And just over the years, we had formed the Sister Keys Conservancy. I was involved at the original FCA Manatee chapter, and on and on. But we really did the Sarasota Baywatch. You might know we started out with a scallop restoration program. The idea being that shellfish are filter feeders and help to improve the water quality. That went into clams, and this year Sarasota Baywatch is going toward, we were going to do 1 million clams. It looks like it's going to be 750,000 in Sarasota Bay this year. Of course, a bit challenging now with all the COVID that's going on. But all of a sudden, it just dawned on me that, great work to put all these clams in the bay, great work for CCA to, stock redfish that got decimated by the red tide, but it just didn't make sense all of a sudden to be putting redfish in and going to this and doing all this clam stuff. You're putting them in polluted water, so it's like, what we really need to do is get our water fixed. And we have, unfortunately, some really very serious problems here. And there's also some bright, there's some good news too, which I'll get to, but some of the scientists I've talked to really think that it's a possibility that our bay could actually turn from a seagrass system into an algae-based system. I don't know if you know about this, but that's what happened in Indian River Lagoon. Basically, Indian River Lagoon, which is one of the most pristine, beautiful places in the world, has totally collapsed. And it's just like green pea soup most of the year. So I looked around and I became aware of Suncoast Waterkeeper. I had known Justin Bloom, who was the environmental attorney from Sarasota, who formed the group. And I thought, were doing the work that needed to be done. They were trying to get people to conform to the requirements under the Clean Water Act, how you had to filter your water, what were those standards, and people just weren't doing it. So they would go out and actually either file suit or threaten to file suit. They did that in Sarasota and got a settlement where now Sarasota is going to an advanced wastewater system. Anytime they have spills now, they pay to the Sarasota Bay Estuary Program. So I basically left the board of Sarasota Baywatch, even though I was a founder, still support the group, but have really thrown all of my time and energies now into Suncoast Waterkeeper. And that also evolved into Tampa Bay Waterkeeper, which had a board that dissolved because of a bunch of different reasons. People moved and people had conflicts. So we're rebuilding that, and we have some really bright stars up there. So that's looking really good. So that's basically where I'm putting my energies now. I'm very concerned about the bay. I love the bay. The idea now is that I've had, almost 40 years of enjoying this. And for me, it's just like, okay, it seems like it's a little give back time now. I think I'd like to be able to put back a little bit or give back to some kids and future generations have some of the opportunities that we've had over these years. I really believe strongly in what Suncoast Waterkeepers is doing. And one of the reasons I wanted to come on and talk to you, thanks for the invitation, is because what I'm not seeing is I'm not seeing guides. I'm not seeing a lot of fishermen, some of the people who have most to lose with water quality issues, really getting involved and going out and now I'm not saying, I don't want to paint with too broad a brush because people are obviously doing things. But I think we need to get the word out to the fishermen, the people who use the resource and care about it, get involved, however that may be. Whether it's just, being aware of who you're voting for, going to the League of Conservation Voters and see how these politicians have voted on water quality issues in the past. Because as you probably well know, a politician will tell you anything you want to hear to get your vote. But once they become a governor or a senator or whatever, then they kind of all too often, there's the special interest that helped them get elected, that they basically, that's who they give their time and energy to, and not us. So it's very important to vote. It's very important to research the people you're voting for. I tell people I'm really not. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I consider myself an environmental voter. And I just wrote a column this past week in the Emory Island Sun, and I entitled it "Enlightened Self-Interest," because I think that's what it is. I mean, these are things that affect us, not only our fishing and the water quality and the birds and the manatees, but the economy of this whole region. And that's one of my missions now, is to try to get this word out to the developers, the realtors, all those other people who are so many times fighting in these environmental issues, because eventually this whole area is our basis of our economy is tourism. People come here because of our water, because of our beaches, because of the fish that we have. So that's why I think that's so important, and something that we really need to really start focusing. I mean, like pinpoint focusing, because, and I've been guilty as well. I mean, you go fishing, everybody has a life. You've got, whether you have a job or family or grandkids or kids or whatever, there's a lot to do. But these things are really important. And so that's kind of what my mission right now, since I've been retired from my building business, which I am now, is to go fishing and do these environmental advocacy things. So, oh yeah, the bright side of it. Okay, so the Sarasota Bay Estuary Program. We have a pretty robust estuary program here, and we have a brand new executive director who's going to be coming on, I believe, November 9th. Did you guys know that? And his name is David Tomasco. And he's a really, really good guy. He's a scientist that's really highly respected. He's a fisherman. He worked as a scientist at Mote years ago. He lived on Anna Maria Island. He understands what's going on out there and the severity of the problem. And so he's going to be a very good partner. We have the estuary program has something called the Citizens Advisory Committee. Basically, it was set up, I think, so that they can get input from people, the citizens of an area, as to different policy decisions and all. And Justin Bloom, who's the head of Suncoast Waterkeeper, is going to be the president of the CAC. So I'm really encouraged by that. So I think we can really make some strides towards trying to fix some of these problems, most of which I think are just, population. I mean, we have people moving here, by the thousands, and that's not going to change. So, I mean, we can't put a sign up, turn around, go back, we don't want you anymore. But we have to figure out what we can do to keep our environment and keep our wetlands, keep it all in such a condition that people want to come here, and that they have the kind of quality of life that they think they're coming here for. There's probably a million other things to talk about, but I thought maybe I'd just put that open after having spewed all that out, maybe just open it up to some questions and answers. If any of you have any questions for me about anything specific, and no matter what it may, even fly casting and fishing.
Absolutely, Rusty. So I've got everybody muted. So if you do have a question for Rusty, please unmute yourself and go ahead. I think one of something we've been talking about recently is there was a real big push for water quality in this last governor's election. You mentioned the elections, and especially out of our current governor. And we were just wondering, has there been any movement by the DeSantis administration towards helping improve our water quality?
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely. He has done some things, but it's really not hard to improve on things after Rick Scott. You don't have to go too far to do that. But what concerns me is I'm afraid that, and this is my opinion, I don't think he is, I know he's not an environmentalist at heart. You can go back and see how he's voted in the past. He has not voted for environment. He has not voted that way. My feeling is he's a very smart politician, and he knew that these were big issues, and not that he doesn't, have some concerns. I don't know how anybody couldn't, but I think we need to keep pushing this administration and all of our elected officials to really put their eye on this, and that's how it gets done. In my opinion, people move when they think it's going to affect either their pocketbook or the votes.
So you mentioned several organizations you're working with here. Are there a lot of volunteer opportunities with those organizations? I know everybody's kind of been strapped for cash coming out of this weird economy we're in right now, but are there some things that folks could do to get involved?
Well, yeah, we do have membership in Suncoast Waterkeeper, and the website is suncoastwaterkeeper.org. So go there, look around. You can see some of the things that we're doing. We're doing water quality testing programs. You know, the state tests the water quality on the beaches, but they don't test in the bays. And a lot of places where people go wade fishing or walk their dogs or go swimming in the bay. So we're trying to do some of that. We're trying to engage the members of the Manatee County utilities. We went to them after their big spill in Bayshore Gardens and said, guys, we know you're trying to do the right thing. We know the kinds of things, kind of pressure you're under. How can we help you? Because that was one of the things that I wanted to do when I got with this organization, is because I would be talking to some officials that I knew in Manatee County. And as soon as you said that, Suncoast Waterkeeper, you could hear the quiet in the room. It's like somebody dropped the pen. That's because they will sue somebody if they need to. So, so I wanted to make sure that we go out and, first of all, when these things come up, we go to these communities and go, hey, we want to be a partner. We want to help. We want to get to the root of the problem. We're not here to be litigious, but hold out that thing that, well, if it needs to be done, if you're not doing what you need to be doing and you're polluting the waters that you're tasked under the Clean Water Act to keep clean, we'll take action. So yes, there are a lot of, and you'll see there, right? Of course, right now with COVID and all, we don't have the events and the things that we would have had before. But there are ways to get involved, and I mean, there's always ways to letter writing, campaigns that we have to try to get the word out to the public. Just each person individually can do that. And if you go to the website, I think you will find some ways to get involved.
Great.
Rusty, I have 2 questions.
Okay.
The first stems from the captains of clean water and the discharges from Lake Okeechobee.
Yeah.
I see stuff online that, hey, they're discharging, the water's getting crappy. Are they doing anything to alleviate that and fight Big Sugar, or is it just such a political quagmire that it's going nowhere? And the second thing I want to touch on, which is the fish farming that the Army Corps of Engineers has okayed outside of Sarasota in the Gulf, which I've heard and have from seeing it up in Canada, have heard a lot of bad stories about that. So those are your 2 topics, sir.
Okay, well, give them to me one at a time.
Okay.
So
Fish farming.
Okay, fish farming. What I know about the fish farming, I went to, they had a public meeting at Moat. I don't know if any of you attended that, but they had a public here at EPA, did a public thing at Moat. And I went there, I spoke because I was against it. I would say 80% of the people there were against it, mostly vehemently. And the people that were for it, and from what I observed, had some kind of an interest in it, right? A financial interest in it. I think it's a bad idea. I mean, with all the problems we have now with nitrogen and red tide, this is just one fish farm. And just for one fish farm off of Sarasota, maybe that's not going to be a huge problem. But this is just the beginning. They approve this, and this becomes saying there'll be hundreds of them out in the Gulf. So we think it's a really bad idea, and we oppose it as an organization.
And the second thing was I have so many questions. Second thing was the discharges, and the governor ran on how he was going to fight this and Big Sugar and all that. They're all kind of in bed with each other, and I know that Big Sugar gives to Democrats and Republicans as well, just to kind of hedge their bets. But until the next nasty red tide, it just seems to subside. The people giving a crap.
Well, unfortunately, that's always been the case. I mean, that you've lived here long enough, I know, to see why everybody's all in the news and everybody's upset about it. Then it goes away, then it's business as usual. Everybody thinks that once the water clears up that everything's good. You know, that if the water's clear, then it's clean. That's not the case. They are doing some things. They have put some money, from what I understand. I'm not an expert on this, but they are building some areas south of the, if somebody knows more about this than me, please chime in. They are building some areas to filter water as it comes out of the Lake O, so they can send it down to Florida Bay, which really needs the water. That's been one of the problems with Florida Bay, is hypersaline, because that water is going east and west instead of south. And of course, where it's needed, it's not going, and where it's not wanted is where it is going. Same thing though, Jay, just in my opinion, I think it's a lot of show. I think people, once again, I think we're getting out of these politicians, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them, elect me and I'll do this. They get elected and then they do basically what they want to do. The governor has done some good things. Like I said, not a big stretch from Scott, but there's been a lot of things that I don't agree with that aren't good, like the roadway up through the the Springs area up there. I mean, I think that's crazy. Yeah, that's a huge problem. I mean, I have friends that live over that part of the lagoon over in Stewart and all, and basically they can't fish there anymore. And Pine Island is one of my favorite places. I've been going there for 20 some years. I love that place down there, and they get devastated by it. We got a long ways to go, and we just got to keep the pressure on it.
Rusty,
What was the other thing you mentioned? Where to see where people are voting? The League of Voter. What was that?
Okay, it's the League of the League of Conservation Voters, LCV.org. They have what they call a political scorecard, and they score members of the Senate, members of Congress on the different votes that they've taken. They give them a score based on how they voted on environmental issues. So that's the first thing I do. If some politician tells me, well, I want to do this, I want to do that, I go, okay, well, I'll take your word for it until I can find out otherwise, but then I go and fact check it. It just seems to me that you can make a better decision on what someone's going to do about what they've done in the past and what they're promising to do in the future.
Rusty, would you care to make a comment about big phosphate and Piney Point?
Yeah, ticking time bomb. Yep. I mean, that goes way back. As you know, Craig, it's like, and I think the beginning of this whole thing was when the company that put that big stack there on the side of the bay went bankrupt, just basically left it, washed their hands and said, oh, we're out of here.
They also sold it.
Yep. And they sold it to this company. And it's like, from what I understand, it's very close to capacity now. Yes. Because of all the rains we've had. And, in the past, they dumped some of it in Bishop's Harbor one time. I remember when they barged it all offshore and dumped it offshore.
And then we had the
big red tide. Yep.
Yeah, it's my largest, the biggest kink in my colon is the phosphate, not sugar. Excuse me.
Well, for us, it is phosphate. Yeah. I mean, if we lived on Pine Island, if we lived on the Caloosahatchee, it wouldn't be that. It would be. Yeah.
And you're familiar with Denise Bruner, right?
What's the name again?
Denise Bruner.
Heard the name. I don't know.
She works for the largest fertilizer company in the world. They have an office in Tampa. She told me that most of the phosphate that, like Scott's Fertilizer, et cetera, is being shipped in from China. They aren't even using Florida phosphate.
Well, see, I think what happens is they take the phosphate, ship it to China, they make fertilizer, and ship it back and sell it to us.
Could be.
Yeah. Anyway, you know what? It's just, but the bottom line is we're the ones that suffer from all of this. And it's really a slow process. And I know a few of you have a few gray hairs like I do, and you've seen it. But it takes a while. And now you have these people that come here from New Jersey. Oh, paradise. I've never seen such a beautiful place. Well, yeah, compared to where you lived in New Jersey, it is. But having lived here for 40 years, I've seen the changes. Yeah. So I don't know. It's a big problem. I don't know if there's really a solution, but I feel compelled to at least act on it as best I can.
Rusty,
Yeah.
Rusty. First of all, I'd like to thank you for doing this presentation tonight, certainly. And a big thanks for everything you've done and continue to do, and I'm sure will continue to do for Sarasota Bay. Because I, for one, I've been here now 11 years, and even that short time, I've seen some changes that I'm not happy with. But I can imagine someone like yourself that's been here for 40 years, you've seen the best and the worst of the whole situation. Hopefully we'll see more of the best coming up, in the near future. What I'd like to ask is, are there any specific projects that you, with Sarasota Bay, oh God, I'm sorry, I'm kidding. Sarasota Bay Estuary Program, had a brain fart there, would need any particular manpower, woman power in a particular project? Because I think I can speak for the club in that things like that need just, grunt work, we've done and we'll continue to do if there's something we can do to help you or help your organization in any way.
Well, speaking to that, the estuary program, I think they've just had it recently, but they do a lot of programs, and they, like everybody else, every other organization, is sort of reorganizing and trying to figure out what to do in this day of COVID. But one of the things they've done just recently is yearly they do a seagrass survey.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that people can get involved in. That's not right now, it'll be another year, but that's something you should put on your list. And they have something called the Bay Buddies. They do a lot of different projects like that, as does Sarasota Baywatch. So those are two organizations that, will do that, as well as Suncoast Waterkeeper.
Okay.
But speaking about the grass, I'm glad see where I was going to go with this. I got my own brain farts going here, so you don't understand that.
Welcome to the club, right?
Yeah, really. Oh yeah, I just got a call. This was 2 or 3 months ago. Oh, but what I was going to say is that, yeah, I've been here for a long time, and actually, when I first got here, things actually got better for 20 years. There was, if you have been here for a long time, can remember back in the 70s and even before that, it was horrible. We had lost huge amounts of seagrass. They had all these old wastewater systems that were on the bay. They didn't have central water sewer in a lot of places, and no stormwater retention. So for about 20 years, it really got better. And you can still go to the Sarasota Bay Estuary Program, and they're touting, how much we've done over the past. Well, that was good, and things did improve. But after this last red tide, things went downhill super fast.
Mm-hmm.
I got a call recently from Captain Justin Moore, Scott Moore's son, fishes Anna Marie. He goes, Rusty, he goes, I'm really concerned. I go, what is it, Justin? He goes, I fish a lot of the times in 4 to 7 feet of water between Sister Keys and Long Bar. And he says, since that last red tide, we have lost, there's an area there that used to be covered in grass, a mile wide and a mile long, that's completely bare sand now.
Mm-hmm.
So we have lost huge amounts of it. There's going to be a report. I was just talking to Dave Tomasco, who's going to be the new executive director of the organization. He said that the new figures aren't going to probably come out until March, but they're going to be really bad. They're not looking good. So you'll go somewhere right now, and you'll still see that bright picture. But I guarantee you, it's going to fade. Yeah, that's why I feel a certain sense of urgency. Can it change the world? No, but one thing's for sure, nothing will change if you don't do anything.
Right.
Hey, Rusty, what about the spill that happened across from Longboat? Can that be looked into in advance on the next time? Is there any sort of check against something like that happening?
Well, yeah. So here you go. That's an interesting story, Jay. The town of Longboat Key, a lot of people were concerned. One of the former town managers, Dave Bullock, actually was concerned about that. So he actually hired an engineering company that I think 3 years ago went and ran what they call a smart ball through that system, right? And they did that and they go, oh, this system is good. It's going to be good for another 10 or 15 years. And then 2 years later, it fails. So yes and no. But that spill, fortunately, thank God, happened up in the mangroves. That didn't make it good. But if it had happened under Sarasota Bay, catastrophic. I mean, it would have been just horrible. They know that now. They're rushing to get permitting to put a redundant line in. We're following the Suncoast Waterkeeper very closely. And they recently, the FDEP came with what they call a consent order. Basically, they see what was damaged, what was harmed, what do you have to do. They have to restore the mangroves that they had to cut to fix it. They have to also, then I think they got fined $280,000 or something. They have two options. They can take that $280,000 and send it to the FDEP where it disappears, or they can do 1.5 times that amount and do a local project to help benefit the bay. That's ongoing right now. We've had a Zoom meeting with the town manager and the public works people there. We're engaging the estuary program and on all of our people into possible solutions. And it's still going on. They're basically trying to decide how they want to do, what programs might work, but we're following that. And you can get that, sort of information by hopefully joining Suncoast Waterkeeper. We have membership levels, like from $25 up. Very, very helpful. It also shows politicians and people that people do care. If they hear a Suncoast Waterkeeper saying something and they look on there and they have, 20 members, they're not going to really worry about it. They look on there and say, well, this organization has 2,000 local members. They'll take notice. So that's why these sorts of things are important. I probably rambled on, so if I didn't get to the heart of your question, please.
No, that was perfect. I'm always curious about that lift station that they've been building at the 301-41 interchange. Is that sewage? It's been going on for years and years and overruns.
Oh, yeah. I believe it is. Yeah, in Sarasota.
It looks like they're almost finished, but
Yeah.
I think it's been a bureaucratic disaster as far as I can tell.
Yeah, there's a lot of those going around. One of the things I wanted to mention, you mentioned the Longboat Key spill, and certainly that needs to be in the news and it needs to be followed. But what's concerned me, Jay, is the fact that there's been a lot of other spills around here. I mean, what was it, a month ago, the city of Bradenton released 10 million gallons of partially treated water into the Manatee River. Back in June, a month before Longboat spill, they had some road project up in Manatee County, and the contractor hit a force main and dumped 350,000 gallons of raw sewage into Bayshore Gardens. That stuff just disappeared. These things sometimes become just part of the news cycle, and that can't happen. But actually, if you have any interest in this, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection has you can get on the email list. So anytime one of these sewage spills is reported, you get an email notification of it. Kind of interesting to follow. But one of the things I've noticed is you go on that site, you see a lot of stuff from Bradenton, Manatee County, you see a couple things from Sarasota, and nothing else almost. And this stuff is going on everywhere because the infrastructure is failing. And that's part of the problem. And this is a solution that there is an answer for it. It just requires the political will to get it done. And we're the ones that have to push the politicians.
Follow-up question. I know I have a lot of questions because I A, care, and B, think about this stuff from time to time. A lot of times there's water warnings in the Gulf in different areas, too much poop or whatever.
Yep.
How does that actually happen? From rainwater spills, or what's going on there?
It's a combination of everything. Really, I mean, it's like, I mean, from the smaller thing is landscape people blowing all the cut grass into the canals. That's nitrogen. It's excess fertilizer, people fertilizing when they shouldn't be fertilizing. And we have a fertilizer ordinance, but I don't know about you, but I see these trucks everywhere during that period of time. And I don't think they're just spraying, whatever. I think there's probably fertilizers going on there, but it's usually kicked off by a big rainwater event. because that it just creates a big flush. But it's really a little bit of everything. Yeah.
And who regulates that fertilizer? The water cops or FWC, or who's supposed to regulate that?
I think it probably originates at the Florida DEP, but then there should be it should be a Sarasota, it should be local ordinances. I know there are local ordinances, but that's the, and if you're a fisherman, you know that you can have every rule in the book, you can have every good law in the book, but if there's no enforcement, it doesn't do much good. That's what's happened with most of the fisheries regulations. You know, they have great regulations, but nobody to enforce it. How many times have you been on the water and been checked by a Marine Patrol officer?
Twice,
Right.
once,
Yeah, and how long?
20 years.
Yeah. So, yeah. Now that's what's going on, and that's why we're doing some testing in the inshore waters too, because we don't want to miss that sort of stuff.
Okay, so to sum it up, there's the scallop thing. You didn't touch on the cleanup that I saw you doing one day when we were having a tournament.
Yeah.
There's key. And is there anything else and the seagrass, is there anything else we can get involved in?
Yeah, we can go on and on this, but basically we formed the Sister Keys Conservancy back in, God, I hate to date myself like this, back in 1989. Because Sister Keys went up for sale, and that was right after Tidy Island had been developed, and they had, I remember clearly walking down the village when I live in the village on the north end of Longboat, walking down, looking over at Jewfish Key, and there's these big blue septic tanks that were going to be buried there for all the lots they were creating. So wouldn't it be nice if we had one island and all of the Sarasota Bay didn't have a frickin' house on it? So that's how we started that, and the town eventually bought it in 95. 2007, they did $1 million. St. Joe, a developer at Perico Island at the time, did $1 million plus restoration of Sister Keys, took all the invasive species off, planted all native species, created an 1.5 acre wetland, and they were responsible for it for 5 years and it reverted to the town. Sister Keys Conservancy sort of dissolved. We had accomplished our purpose. Then all of a sudden, I'm going over there one day and all the stuff is growing back, right? So we engaged with the town to push them and like a nice nudge, nudge, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, to do something about it. And they agreed to do that, and we would do cleanup. So we started doing we had been doing a yearly cleanup, just trash cleanup, Sarasota Bay Watch every year, something you can get involved in. If you want to interested in any of the history, write this down, sisterkeys.org. I created a website because I've been taking pictures and, you know, being involved in this and doing clippings from newspapers forever. You can get a little bit of a history of that. And I'm trying to, you know, do some drone footage and give everybody an idea of what it looks like now. But if you have any interest, let me know. And I have an email list I created called Friends of Sister Keys. So that way, if there's anything going on there, that I'll update you on that. If there's a cleanup planned, I'll update you on that. So you can get involved with that. But since we're just talking about that, another thing pops to mind is there's a big problem with erosion on the north end of Sister Keys there along the intercoastal waterway, if you know, right where it hits the intercoastal waterway there. It's undermining the mangrove. So I've been talking to Jay Leveroni with the estuary program, and I think we're going to be doing a wave attenuation something there. So there's just so much that can be done all over the bay. There's, you know, prop scars that can be repaired. There's, you know, physical things to do, and then there's just getting the word out, you know, to outreach to the public about how important this is.
What did they do? Plant seagrass in the prop scars?
Yeah, this guy Jim Anderson, I don't know if you guys know him. He's got this thing called Seagrass Recovery, and he's actually come up with these mesh bags. So they actually fill these mesh bags up with sediment, put them in the prop scars. That builds the level back up to close to because that was one of the big reasons they could never grow the grass in it, because it creates a scoop, right? And just 6 inches or 3 inches difference keeps that seagrass from growing. So he's developed a way to do it. So one of the things we're suggesting, you know, if they need a project, they can do prop scar damage, you know, repairs on the Sister Keys.
I have a sidebar question. Is there any kind of parallel studies or estuary work like in Lemon Bay and Blackburn Bay? Because I don't seem to hear much about that.
You know what? That's actually, I think, part of Sarasota Bay, at least the, you know, certainly Little Sarasota Bay. No, I don't hear much about it either. So that would be a good question. Like I said, we've got Dave Tomas. We've got a great crew there at the estuary program. And Mark Alderson, who was there since the beginning. I mean, he was a nice enough guy, but I always felt like, and I can say this now because he's leaving, I always felt like he was just a little bureaucratic, just a little bit, don't want to rock the boat because I'm worried about my job and, paying my kids tuition. But fortunately, Dave Tomasco, and he told the policy board, I was on that meeting when he was being interviewed. He basically said, this is what needs to be done. And if I can't get it done, I'm not doing my job in 2 or 3 years, fire me.
Wow.
So I like that. I like that attitude. So I think we're going to see we have some really great opportunities coming up. And I would just encourage everybody to stay tuned and get involved and, and be aware of what's happening so you can comment on it need be.
Rusty, you were talking about the Indian River Lagoon, how it changed kind of to muck, and you're worried about Sarasota Bay becoming that same transition. Do they know kind of how that happened in Indian River and what steps we could take to head that off?
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, we know what it is. I mean, it's faulty infrastructure. It's all the development, stormwater runoff. And just basically too many people. But that, obviously, we're not going to change that. And there's solutions. There's a way to handle it. It's going to cost money, and like I said, it just takes political will to do the job, to commit the money to do it. And yes, it's going to be very expensive, but it's not going to be nearly as expensive as it's going to be for our kids and our grandkids.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I wanted to thank Rusty personally. I've been meaning to get involved myself in the water keepers, and especially the Baywatch. And I think I'm going to become a member. And that way I'll personally be more in touch through emails and how you guys get it, get the info out, because I was always catching things here or there and always missing everything. So I don't know if Mr. Babineau is going to second that, but I'm certainly going to do it myself. I think it's important.
Great.
I second it. And third it and fourth it.
Maybe we can get our newsletter guy to add something about it to the newsletter.
Yeah, I'm taking notes.
And you also may make a mention somewhere for the people that aren't here tonight that if they want to be kept abreast of what's going on and with Sister Keys cleanups and things like that, just to email me and say they'd like to be added to the Friends of Sister Keys email list.
Yeah, after this meeting or the next day or so, I got to get the newsletter out. So I'd like to call you and just make sure all my info is correct.
Sure.
And the websites and how to get involved, if that's okay.
Yeah. If you need any logos or things like that too, I can help provide that for you.
That'd be nice.
Rusty, could you comment on Florida Kids for Clean Water that you guys talk about on the website?
Yeah, this is another thing where I woke up one morning and this was actually the reason I had this idea of Kids for Clean Water is because I came to a Mangrove Coast meeting and listened to the guys for Captains for Clean Water and liked what they were doing and liked that whole concept. So I woke up one morning and go, Kids for Clean Water. Wow. I mean, these kids are the ones that are going to inherit this. And so why not twofold, give them a voice, teach them how to become advocates. And number two, I just envision these kids standing up in front of a commission somewhere saying, protect my water, save some for me. So that's where I got the idea. And I originally started this with J.P. Brooker, who is with the Ocean Conservancy, legal counsel in St. Pete, Tracy Freeman with Edible Sarasota Magazine, and my niece, Dawn. Never did get off the ground, just didn't happen. So it kind of fell by the wayside. I just didn't have the bandwidth to get involved with one more thing. But I have a neighbor here in the village who has 2 kids. And she said, oh, I really want to be a part of that. She said, well, maybe I'll take it over. And I said, well, great, that would be really wonderful. So she did. And we didn't have a 501c status for it for taking for getting monies into the organization. So we've actually put it under Suncoast Waterkeeper. So it's really a part of Suncoast Waterkeeper now. And they have a Facebook page and Instagram. They're pushing really hard for the Manatee County vote for water and land referendum, which is another thing. If any of you have people here from Manatee County, you can vote in Manatee County. Very important It's just a way to create funds to purchase more environmentally sensitive lands, purchase lands where we can actually do some of the filtering of the wastewater before it hits our waters. So I would highly recommend that if you have a chance to vote for it, if not, encourage people that you know who can to vote for it. Unfortunately, there's a whole group that's out now and they got big signs everywhere, no new taxes, right? That's all they say, no new taxes. I mean, it's like, you know, well, my thing is you're born in America, if you don't pay taxes, man, you're entitled to all this stuff, right? You know, you get roads, you get sewers, right? So anyway, don't get me started, right? But I really love the concept of Kids for Clean Water, and I'm so glad she took it over. And I'm really encouraging them. These kids will write me emails and asking me my opinion on stuff and all, and it's just really endearing.
Yeah, and I have a daughter and niece and nephew in the area, and we all spend time on the water, so it's nice to get them involved and thinking about it too, not just taking advantage of the water, but understanding what else can happen to it.
Yeah, because one of the kids came over the other day that they have a Facebook thing where they're trying to take the pledge to vote for clean water, you know, which I did. And I told her, I said, it's really too bad that you kids have to be doing this. You know, you ought to be playing and doing all the things that, you know, kids should do, you know, before they grow up. But unfortunately, I think it's important that they understand these issues. And these kids they're having Zoom meetings where they're talking about things. They're writing letters to the editors of the local newspapers and all. So have your kids join. You know, go to the Facebook page, and you know, Allie Claypool is the lady whose kids her kids started it. Yeah, they're very active in the Sarasota Sailing Squadron, and yeah, it's I want to see that grow, and I think it will. I think it's something we can grow very organically.
Thanks.
Kids are the future.
Mm.
That's why we have so many in our club. Yeah.
Do we have any other questions, guys?
No, but when we're done, can we talk about fishing?
Sure, ask me a fishing question.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing to fish for, Rusty?
That's tough. It's between tarpon and bonefish.
Ooh.
Tarpon
Yeah.
are a little closer.
Yeah. Well, I love bonefish. Of course, they don't have bonefish here. Well, we actually do have bonefish here now. I mean, I know you can't go out and reliably fish for them, although that's kind of been the case for me for tarpon lately, it seems. Tarpon have really been avoiding me like the plague. But now I like permit fishing. I was lucky enough to be able to do that when I had my building business going down to the Keys, and I fished with a guy down there, learned how to fish was able through a writing assignment to go to Belize, and you know, so I did that. But sight fishing, I mean, I like to see the whites of their eyes. That's, for me, that's the ultimate, being on the bow of the boat and, you know, having a guide spot the fish, pointing it out, making the cast, you know, teasing them, watching them set the hook. Yeah, that's.
Have you caught too many albies off a longboat to care about them anymore?
No, I love albies, and unfortunately, the last few years, they're going to look like they're going to be here now. We need this cold front that's coming. I think it's going to really take off with this cold front. They were out there the other day. Rick Grass and I went out 2 days ago, and we went out on Big Pass early in the morning, and we went down to Point of Rocks, and I mean, the birds were everywhere. It was going off everywhere. They were kind of widely spaced and hard to get to, you know, get with, as you know how they are. And then when the tide started to fall, I was sure that we could go back to the passes, because usually on those strong outgoing tides, they concentrate bait. It's just dead. It was just nothing. I think it's just because the water's too hot and we really need a change of. But I love albies. Albies are terrific. One of my favorite fish.
Nice. Albie fever.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll have a nice session coming up when this water cools down. I remember they stayed up on Longboat a couple years ago for like a full month, just every day sitting there off of those grinders or whatever they call those cement things.
Yep. Yeah, I don't live too far from there. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And for members who haven't fished them or
Powerful.
if you have friends or whatever, I mean, just grab Rick Grassett or guide if you don't have a boat and go do it. You generally don't have to cast far. I mean, when they're blowing up, they're just all over the place. And it's a thrill of a lifetime hooking one of those. It's like hooking a truck driving by at 20 miles an hour. That's what I liken it to. And
One of the things I like about them too, Jay, is the fact they love top water.
Yeah.
You can catch them on subsurface flies, but I love fishing like a crease fly or gurgler.
Yeah.
I mean, watch them just come up and slash on it. Just hardly anything better than that. But if you go out in a boat, I've done it for a while to know all the things not to do. For forever, the whole thing was to go out and do what we call the run and gun, right? You see them pop up over here, run over there real fast and make it fast. They can be super, super exasperating. And they pop up here, you run over there, they're down where you just left from, they're over there. So when it's like that, I just got a little tip and you're out there, watch the birds, get in the areas where the birds are, and just let the fish come to you. I found that to be a better strategy. If they're not staying up, a much better strategy than chasing them around.
yeah, I noticed they hang near some specific crab buoys at times, and I'll just hang. Sometimes I'll tie off there, and it's kind of wait for it to come back. I originally met Rick Grassett at a gas station in North Carolina when I used to go down every year from Philadelphia to fish the fall run of albies in Cape Lookout. And they run, and it gets so competitive because you have all these guides and people just gunning it when they see the fish come up. That's super annoying. They don't go slow. They're just, crazy. There's this one old captain, Captain Jack. He was a crotchety Southern gentleman. And he used to take like stale popcorn and put it off his boat, and he would slowly pull away, and all the birds would come down and create a little cliff. And all these guys would run and gun to the popcorn, and they'd be laughing their ass off.
That's an old lefty trick too. He
Oh, yeah?
started throwing potato chips.
Maybe he learned it from Lefty.
But if things are right, you can go out there and do a school. But you really do have to be pretty fast and a pretty good caster, because once you come up to that school, you don't have long. If you run up to that school and you fiddle around with your line for a couple of 10 seconds, they're gone.
Yeah.
You need to get out there and make that cast. So practice.
It makes people a better caster. I'm sure it did for me. I think
Makes you go take lessons.
No, I don't.
Just kidding, Jay.
Other than a tailing loop, which no one can seem to get out of my line. I'm okay. But anyway, I fishing for albies certainly made my cast quick, and one back cast and double haul and get it out, versus the trout guy who's holding the line up in the air. I'm just like, there they are, go back cast. It's like, actually our next meeting next month, Mick and Ken and I are going to talk about albies and albie strategies and all the lines and rod weights and all that. If you want to sit in and be nice, because you have a lot of experience, maybe I'll get Rick to come. And I think Rick, well, we did in person, and Rick was there straightening us out on some of our points. But it's just, my top fish are baby tarpon lately, albies always, and then I'll try to fish pompano in the winter. I just love pompano.
Do you ever fish down in Pine Island Sound for the baby tarpon?
Not a lot. I went with Jamie one time, and he gave a presentation and noticed he had to point out how hungover I was, and I was blowing all the shots. He's like, "There's the sweat in his shirt. You see, he was a wreck." And it was.
That's Jamie.
I like a guy that can jersey up with me a little bit, and he's certainly up to the task. We call it a ball.
Just from experience, they have the most phenomenal baby tarpon fishing in general, year round there. A lot of people don't know that. I got a guy that I fished with there, Joe Harley. He'll tell me sometimes if there's a warm up, and just like in the Keys, if there's a warm up in January or February, he can catch 100+ pound tarpon there. And they come out just like they do in the Keys. So definitely get into that.
Yeah, I did the kayak thing with Logan, which was an experience on itself. One of the things that was interesting, he's in little canals and stuff, and he's like, "Oh, they know we're in here," because we get within like 75 feet of them, and they just go down. So
Rick tells me that too, but we were up in like Bowley's Creek, and he said you move towards them, they keep moving back, and he was right, And I didn't feel like we were close enough to spook them. They were older, for further down the canal as we advanced on them. So these guys, yeah, that's
That's
why I
how they
always tell
learn.
people, listen to the guide. That's my thing. That's 3 words. Listen to the, that's 4 words. Listen to the guide.
Apparently Judge Scalia didn't do that when he went out with Rick. Hope you heard that story, but that's for another time. I don't want to get political.
Well,
I had
Russ,
a question. I fled on May 3rd. I fled Florida, and I'm in beautiful upstate New York, waiting for our first snowstorm tonight. How was the red tide overall this season?
Well, it was with the I think the worst red tide we've ever had, this last one. And
Yes,
I mean, really bad. I know some of the scientists that they said that it was so bad that the worms were crawling out of the bottom and dying, and you could just smell sulfur in the water. And like I said, Justin's reporting acres of seagrass that died. And right now, unfortunately, I fear that who knows when it'll come, but it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah.
Do you know much about the Manatee River and its estuaries and the health of that? A friend of mine, Bob, fishes up there quite a bit.
I think there's a big problem, actually. I know a little bit. I mean, I fished it, but I don't know if any of you saw. I posted a video. I think
They're breaking up.
Yeah.
was it July? I think it was July 3rd and the 4th. There was a horrible lingbia bloom. You know what the lingbia is? It's not like what we call snot grass or whatever. It's the brown, stringy, slimy stuff you see floating in the bay in the summertime.
Right.
Huge bloom of that. And there had been no big rain events, no sewage spills, and it was horrible. And I think that this is anecdotal, obviously, but I'm pretty sure that had to come from the Manatee River. I mean, what gets flush better than that part of Tampa Bay? I mean, that's right there at the mouth of Tampa Bay. And this lingbia bloom, I have a drone and I took it out and I flew a drone and got a video of it. And Jay, can I send you the link and you can share it? Would that be the way to do it? If people wanted to see it. It really points out some of the problem, the severity of the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why there couldn't be an article encompassing this conversation and all we've talked about with all the links and logos and
whatever. I'll send it to you and you can
but it is the 29th, so I try to get it out on the 1st, and we have to hop to it.
No, I'm just going to send you the link, and anybody else wants to see it, they can. I'm in the midst of YouTube hell right now and social media hell, trying to redo all of my social media stuff. I have unbeknownst, I did 2 or 3 different channels from 4 or 5 different accounts. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Now I'm trying to sort all the mess out. Otherwise, I would give you a link, but I'll share it with Jay and you guys if you have any interest in looking at it.
Yeah, I'll put a link in.
But yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys. And my email address is my name, rustychinnis@comcast.net. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any further questions or there's something you think about that you didn't ask. I'm glad to help in any way I can. And I definitely would encourage you to go to our suncoastwaterkeeper.org, become a member there, and even just becoming a member and spreading the word is a lot.
Now, is that a better thing to do than to join the Baywatch, or do both, or just join on Instagram?
Do both.
Okay, because I followed on Instagram while we were talking, and I'll probably do the other one as well.
Okay.
Are there monthly meetings or any kind of functions that way, Rusty?
Well, not general meetings now because of COVID. I don't think we really do. We're having board meetings, but we're doing our board meetings, same way, like a Zoom.
Same as we are.
Virtually. Yeah. And this is one of the things I was encouraging Sarasota Bay Watch to do that didn't quite get together, was to, while we have these things, there's ways to engage people and keep them engaged. And one of the things I thought would have like a cleanup contest, and have people actually go up and go out and clean up and pile all the stuff on a dog and take a picture of it and post it. And then, the one who has the biggest pile gets a fishing trip with somebody. I don't know. So there's lots of ideas, and that's some of the things that we're working on with Suncoast Waterkeeper as well, to engage people when we can't actually be hugging and shaking hands.
Right.
Yeah, I think the CCA does something where you could get a bucket and it gets you a ticket to the raffle or something like that per bucket of waste and stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get skunked and end up with more plastic in the boat than fish, but there's a good feeling to doing that as well.
Well, that's what I tell people about fly fishing. I took up fly fishing so I wouldn't have to catch fish, and it's working pretty well.
That's a horrible thing to say.
Rusty, we'd like to thank you for coming out tonight. It's very informative. These programs you're involved in are really good for our environment here locally. And it's really important, I think, that we all really pay attention to the environment we try to enjoy and keep it that way, keep it an enjoyable place. And once again, we want to thank you for coming this evening. And
It's been a real pleasure.
Thank
And
you.
I need to re-up my membership, so send me that, okay? I just forget about that lapses. Okay?
Oh,
Does that even?
Weimer.
John Weimer? That's still Weimer, Ken?
yeah, that's one.
Yeah, John.
Well, that's a problem.
John's our membership coordinator.
That's not a problem.
I think a lot of organizations have that problem, and that's what I'm encouraging Suncoast Waterkeeper to do right now is when a member signs up, you have to know that maybe a month before it comes due again, you send them an email. Thanks for being a member. We really appreciate all your support. Your membership's coming up for renewal. Hope we can count on you next year. So that might be something that Mangrove Coast could do as well.
We have thugs. We have guys we send around at Break Lakes.
How's that working?
It's a Jersey.
Very good.
The Jersey boys.
a lot of crippled members.
Just naturally, Bob.
Ethan, how was the turnout on the weekends? Do you know what the turnout was?
So I think we ended up with 5 total. How'd you do?
I got a lizard fish, that was all, but it was fun.
Nice. Where'd y'all go when you left the ramp?
We went a little bit up in the bay to the just north of Beer Can Island, and then we came back and did some of the flats north of the park.
Good deal. Kids catch anything? Did the kids do well?
Yeah, my nephew caught some stuff. He had more luck because he was using bait and stuff. So
Yeah. Blame it on the bait.
yeah, but we never really fished up in that area, so it was more just a reason to. It was a good excuse to leave Venice and go up north.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
Along that note, if I could just chime in for a second, what Eric is talking about is, our last outing, and as Ethan indicated, we had 4 or 5 people there. I really would love, Ethan and I talked after lunch about this, is that we haven't had a lot of people, and it seems like it's the same ones. Eric, you're at most of the outings, and I try to get there when I can, and certainly Ethan. We seem to have similar, or same people each time, but we really would like to get more people involved. And we were talking like, are there ways to do that? If anybody has suggestions along that way, we realize COVID is obviously an issue. We also realize it's been hotter than hell this summer. But hopefully as we're getting into the fall now, and more people are coming back, from up north, hopefully we'll get more people at the outings, because I think that's an important part of the club. I think everybody does go, always has a good time. Whether you catch, whether you don't catch, it doesn't matter. If you're new or experienced, it doesn't matter. We hopefully, can help people that are inexperienced to learn some spots, become better fishermen or fisherwomen, and, have some fun. So really give some serious thought to that when Eric or when Ethan sends out the invitations for the outings, because we'd love to have more people there. So.
And if I could add
appreciate
something,
you doing them. I appreciate
I can
you.
add something as an outsider. We appreciate you guys that participated in our last outing down at Fort DeSoto last week. I appreciate the offer that you extended to our club to participate in this particular video. Rusty, it was extremely informative. I was well pleased with it. I learned a lot from it, and I hope to participate in some of the programs that are going on in the Bay. And Ethan, again, I thank you for hosting it. I really enjoyed it. And guys, I hope to fish with you guys sometime in the future. Thank you.
Super. Thank you.
Yeah, we always talk about more of a marriage of the local clubs here, Sarasota, Tampa, St. Pete, and ways to, other than that one thing in the winter that you guys do, the chili cook-off, we really don't get to do things together, or there's no real crossover, cross-pollination. So maybe, we could talk about that, or maybe you could sit in on one of our board meetings and bat some ideas around. We just do them by Zoom now, so it's pretty easy.
Mhm.
Did you hear that, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I think I'm probably the one that's crossed over the most
Yeah.
to both the St. Pete and Tampa.
You're going to be the crossover coordinator then. I dub you.
I just step up.
By the way, there's a fly tying group, in case nobody knows this. We meet every Tuesday night.
What? Me.
You're welcome to come.
Where do you meet now?
It's up at my house. We moved it off of Constitution. It's 3682 Quiet Pond Lane.
Quiet Pond Lane.
Yep.
What time is that, at 7?
It's at 6 o'clock, 6 to 9, every Tuesday night.
Except for next Tuesday.
Except for
Can that
next.
be?
We're taking off for the election.
Colonoscopy, I'm going to be sitting on the pot all night.
Yeah, right. Can that be mentioned in the newsletter?
No. Oh, yeah, not the pot part.
Thank
Yeah, we do one online. We do one online every Monday night.
Is that a Zoom, Bob?
Oh,
It's a Zoom, yeah. It's a Zoom every Monday night. Bruce Everson hosts it in his garage.
God.
And with the covert, we've gone online with it, with the Zoom. So
Maybe you could provide me that info, Bob, because I'm going to do the newsletter the next day or two, and I'd be happy to include that.
okay, sure.
That one used to be held at, can't think of the guy's name, his garage or wherever. It was at the, also at the fly shop up there too, in Clearwater.
Clearwater.
No,
Bill Jackson's?
Jackson's. Yeah, it was at Jackson's for a while, and then it was somebody that worked at Jackson's that hosted the one up in St. Pete for years. I'm trying to remember the name. I'm glad to hear that Suncoast has one.
By the way, is there anyone else here from Bob's club or the Tampa club tonight? Show of hands. Okay. We'll try to get you an invite.
I think it's just me. I got the invite late. I checked my email and it was,
Here's Rick Warfel. He's St. Pete.
Okay, I've been.
There it is.
How you doing? I've been in
oh,
Hey,
the.
Rick.
I've been in my truck for the last hour and a quarter listening to the thing, but I didn't want to turn my audio on because all you hear is my truck noise. So I've listened to the whole thing, but I just got home and turned my computer on. So, hi guys.
Thanks for joining.
Hi.
And both of you guys, I meant to get you the invite out earlier, but it just didn't come. So next time we'll try to get it, at least 24 hours ahead, so that maybe some of your members are joined in as well.
Hey, Jay, can I add one thing? I wanted to tell Rick and Bob that we also are, now that I mentioned it before, we're rebuilding a Tampa Bay waterkeeper. They had a really robust group there. And most of the people who were heading it were from the St. Pete area. A lot of that, there are a couple people moved out of town. Some people had some conflicts of interest with jobs. But we have some really good people now, some really young and enthusiastic people who are on the board. Most of them, though, have been from Tampa. So I was trying to reach out, and I did through Bill LaCoin, to come to you guys and say, hey, if there's anybody there who might be interested in working with Tampa Bay Waterkeeper. So I just want to put that in you guys, put it out to you guys. If you know anybody who might be interested, we'd like some more representation from the St. Pete area.
Sure, we'll be glad to get involved. So.
Yeah. We have one person there that we found, and I think he is one of your members' son. His last name is Craig.
Yeah.
Hutch Craig.
Well, John Craig and his son as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So that his son is on the board.
Okay.
So yeah, he was like, well, I don't know, what is this all about? He joined our board meeting and joined right away. So it's a really good group. They've got a boat. They've got a lot of resources. It just in this building back, I think it's going to be very strong. One of the new board members, Adam Fernandez, the young lawyer from Tampa, and he's very excited about putting together some fishing tournaments to benefit the organization, fly fishing tournaments, which you'll be hearing about. So just put that in your head.
All right, guys. If we don't have any more questions or any more commentary, I say we're going to sign this sucker off.
Yeah, next month we're doing it early on the 17th, right? Because of the holiday.
Yeah, or because of Thanksgiving. So next month we'll be on the 17th at 7. We're going to do Albies, and I think we'll try to put together an outing within 48 hours of that meeting. So everybody get your rods ready.
Okay.
Ethan?
Yep.
Then Ken, I would just like, maybe everybody has already knows this, but I ran across this book. It's called The Gulf, The Making of the American Sea by Jack Davis. And it's basically 1,000-year history of the Gulf. Very well written and very interesting. So just wanted to pass that on.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
You're going to pass it around?
Well, I second that. I read that.
It's a little difficult to turn the pages on the screen.
That's a terrific book, Denton. I read that book, and that's one of the things. After reading that book, and you might have had the same experience, I said, now I see the place where I live and where I fish with new eyes.
Yeah.
The way this place was at one time was phenomenal. I mean, you almost probably could literally walk across the bay and fish. Keep you here too long, but here's another book that if any of you read, it's a really good book. It's Lords of the Fly. It's a take on Lord of the Flies. It's all about Homosassa and the fly fishing in Homosassa. Another really good book.
Who's the author?
This is Monty Burke, Burke, and he's a tarpon fanatic, but he's done a New York Times best-selling book on Nick Saban and some other things. So he's a very good writer. I thought he did a really good job of capturing that whole scene.
Okay, thank you.
If any of you want to just take a moment, I can tell you a little bit about what Sun Coast Fly Fishers have been doing in the COVID environment. As you guys have been doing, we've been doing our meetings virtually pretty much since the COVID started. The first thing we did was we did a panel discussion on docklight fishing on Facebook. Then we did a panel discussion on tarpon on Zoom. And since then, we've been doing member meetings on Zoom. We've also been doing some things at outings. For those of you that, for from the Tampa Club, if anybody's still here. We had 26 people show up at our outing at Fort DeSoto last Saturday, or not last Saturday, but last month, and we were real happy with that. We did provide a meal. We did a grab and go kind of meal. We didn't feel comfortable having a normal meal at our outing, but we had prepackaged sandwiches and chips and things like that that people could just grab and go. And I think that brought a lot of people out. So just those couple of things. Next month, we are going to do an open house, a virtual open house at our meeting. So we will be sending you guys and the Tampa Club invitations to join us if you like. Andy Mill is going to be the speaker at that meeting. So.
Oh, wow. That's a big name.
Yep.
Downhill flight.
It's a tough time, but we're doing everything we can, and I know you guys are too.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hope and pray that this ends soon, huh?
Absolutely. How you doing, Ken?
Good, yourself?
Good.
So Rick, you and Bob are both from the St. Pete Club?
Yes.
What's the name of the guy? Walt. Is it Walt from the head of the other club?
That's Walt Durkin from Tampa.
Yeah, I invited him. We didn't see him, but we'll keep him in the loop.
Jay, I got an email from Walt inviting me to this meeting.
Oh, nice.
So it went out to the entire club.
Oh, then we're doing it. We just need to do it earlier. I mean, this was a little last minute this time. So Ethan, me and you are going to talk about that.
I have a question. Ken, have you heard anything from the garden club yet?
As far as what? Our
Starting-
meetings?
Yeah.
I told them that the earliest we would probably be interested in meeting would be January. Chances are, in all honesty, it's probably not going to happen then, but I'm setting up with them reservations for our normal Wednesdays, the fourth Wednesday from January on through, as many of those dates as we can have that are our normal dates. We'll probably have to move one in either April or March based on their normal, they have that show that they put on down there, garden show or whatever, where we have to adjust. But yeah, I've talked to them pretty regularly, and there shouldn't be any problems. So we're still going to be in there.
Good.
Yeah. Don't want to lose that.
No, that's a godsend.
Yeah, exactly. But the only problem again is, if I had a crystal ball, I could say, okay, definitely plan on us here, but God knows it could be, the middle of next year before we can actually have in-person meetings. Who knows?
Rick Warfel, may I ask you a question? How much are you paying for your room?
I think we pay like $70 a month, like that.
That's a good price.
That's a very good price. We couldn't find anything that cheap.
Oh yeah, we did. That's what we pay,
Garden Club
$70.
isn't that cheap?
Yeah, we're paying $770 for the year.
But Rick is in a county building. And
we're at Walter Fuller's Recreation Center in St. Pete.
when we were at Twin Lakes Park in Sarasota, we were paying
a lot more, double
more than that.
Oh yeah, we're paying $1,500 or more.
And when we were in, how much were we paying downtown? I don't remember. In the police station. I don't remember.
Don't know. I wasn't present then, so I don't know.
I was.
Yeah. So you're supposed to know.
Having a senior moment here. I'm sorry.
I call them brain farts, but I'm sure it wasn't cheap.
I smell dinner, so I'm going to opt out, people. Great seeing everyone.
All right, JT.
We'll see everybody next month on the 17th, 7 o'clock again. We're going to be doing the Albies. Ken and JT and Mick are going to be presenting, and they said they're going to get lubed up, so it might be a show for everybody.
Hopefully we'll have some new and fresh pictures for you.
Yeah.
I can't tell that by what happened today or yesterday, but we'll see.
And everybody send me some pictures. We got one more month left in our tournament. We're going to be giving out the $100 in gift certificates here on the 1st, and then we'll have one last month of prizes, and hopefully somebody can reel Kent back in from the overall title. I got a few things up my sleeve for him.
Okay.
Maybe Eric can get 110 lizardfish.
Yeah.
Ethan, one more question. How
Guineas
many-
are double.
I got one species off my list.
Junkfish slam.
Craig, you said you had a question?
For Ethan, how many tonight?
Oh, for Ethan.
27.
Actually, we hit 31 at one point. We were wavering. Some people hopped in, hopped out. So 31 at the height.
Not too
Okay.
damn.
But I
Great.
think we might have had some people replacing and hopping
Yeah.
in, hopping on.
Great.
All right.
How many are attending your Zooms?
Okay.
We get, it varies. We get up to 25 people or so. It's not really heavily attended, but, and I think part of the problem is we still have a pretty large number of people that aren't comfortable with Zoom.
Right.
And Rick's club is larger than ours.
Okay.
We have roughly 130 people in the club.
What is our current attendance, Ken?
Attendance, or are we talking about members?
Membership.
130.
Yeah, it was about 125, 130. Again, with all the things that have been happening, I'm sure we're going to lose some people when we start back up again, but, we'll also gain new ones. So I think we'll stay pretty much around 120 to 130 on a normal basis.
I have been getting an email from a gentleman every month, are you meeting? And I keep saying, no,
Yeah.
soon,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Well, we're meeting virtually. Yeah.
Yes.
Is he a
So
local?
there
Is
a member
he,
that wants to- he's moved into the area and he wants to become a member.
okay. I mean, we can, if he contacts you again, if we get his email address, we can send him invitations to these virtual, and then he can become at least a member that way, so to speak. I have a neighbor that's going to be joining as well, and that's one of the things I was going to do with him is to get his email to Ethan, and he'll become at least a virtual member until we actually start meeting in person.
Hey, Ken,
So,
Russ.
yeah, hey Russ.
Yeah, we having our meetings, but we're still keeping the Zoom in our local nights down here in Venice. So we still have a Zoom meeting, but we have meetings in person. If you don't feel comfortable, we still have the Zoom meeting.
Oh, so your Knights of Columbus meetings are in person?
In person now, yeah.
Okay. Are you doing anything like mandatory masks or
Yeah,
social
it's all,
distancing?
well, the hall has been sprayed. We have a company comes there and sprays the hall, decontaminates it,
Mm-hmm.
fogs the whole building.
Yeah.
Bingo
See,
every
that's something we wouldn't have control over at the garden club since it's
No.
not our building. I personally can't see us going in having in-person meetings until the COVID situation is totally under control, whether it means a vaccine or whether it means something has been done to, eradicate it. Because, I would personally hate to have somebody, and all of us, not all of us, but most of us in the club are of an age where we're susceptible to it. And
Yeah.
many of us have some underlying health conditions. And if somebody ever got sick and passed because of a meeting, I wouldn't sleep too well. So, I think we have to hold
I'm
off.
reluctant to attend big things too, because I'm taking care of my mom and she's 97.
Right.
Russ, how many people are at this night's meeting? in
At the
person?
meeting, we're lucky we have maybe 20 right now, but we still have a lot of people on Zoom.
What would have been typical?
Typical would be about 40 or 50.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about the same numbers.
Yeah.
I
Does
mean,
Joe Gallo go to those meetings?
Say what?
Does Joe Gallo attend those meetings?
Not our meetings.
Okay,
We're in Venice at the Epiphany Hall.
yeah, that's where I thought he was.
Joe's in, Joe passed away, didn't he?
No.
Yeah, which Joe, I mean, we do have a Joe Gallo. I know Joe from, he was over at Lourdes.
Okay. Just curious.
They have meetings too.
Yep.
So,
All right, I'm taking off. Thanks, everyone.
All right, have a good dinner.
Good night.
night.
Good night.
Thank
Good
you,
night,
guys.
everybody. All righty.
Everybody.
Thanks,
All right,
Ethan.
thanks for inviting us.
Thanks, Ethan.
Not a problem. See
Another
y'all
good
next
job.
Good to see everyone.
Yeah, same. Throw snowballs tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
Snow angels.
Oh, Angel.
Hey, Ethan, what's your email that I send these pictures to?
It is mcff.tournament@gmail.com.
Okay, thanks, Ethan. Thanks, the rest.
Not a problem, Mike.
All right.
All right, take care, guys. Thank you.
Bye, Mike.
Adios.
Thanks.
Sayonara.